Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. Sam Vaknin often talks about the narcissist's magical delusional thinking of grandiosity and how they simply aren't able to really see their self as they truly are. Now, okay, I kind of get that to a point, but the reality is we all reach a certain point in life, and from that point back, there is a trail of evidence. There has been a picture painted that clearly depicts what we are as people, who we are, and what our life's been about. Now, all of us can see the picture of our own lives. We recognize that picture as being the picture of our lives, but somehow the narcissist simply cannot attach themselves to the reality of what they really are. And I want to talk about that today. Now, Vaknin and Tudor will both say that a narc really does know what they're doing, that nothing's happening by accident, that their covert plotting and manipulation is very methodical, and they know exactly what they're doing. They know when they're creating chaos, they will actually maneuver things so the chaos is executed as they had anticipated. So they're very cunning, very clever in their deception. So can they see the reality of their own life? I believe they can see it. I just believe they can't accept it. I think on some level, they're really aware of what they are, but cannot accept it or attach themselves emotionally, spiritually, mentally to the reality of it. Like they're looking at it as if that picture that's been painted is of someone else's life. So the painting of the narcissist's past, the clear picture of what their life has been, is so obvious to everyone, yet they simply can't put their self in the picture. Now, for example, Trevor had a lifetime history of poor mental health. His mother had told me many stories about the problemed childhood he had, how he could never take responsibility, how he would fly into fits of rage if ever his parents, his adoptive parents, tried to hold him responsible for his behaviors. By the time he was 13, he was fully alcoholic. They had him in and out of the offices of mental health care providers, psychiatrists, child therapists, trying to figure out what was wrong with him. From an early age, he was mentally dysfunctional. He always avoided responsibility. He had very troubled relationships in social situations. He was alcoholic as hell by the time he was 13 and had been diagnosed with mental health issues, and all by the time he was in his very early teens. Now, this in itself, for me, would be an indicator that there was something wrong with me. But no, he simply did not associate this real evidence and history of his mental health trail. He just couldn't relate that to himself. He was diagnosed with depression. He was diagnosed with alcoholism. And I do believe there was at one point a diagnosis of the bipolar condition. All really typical for narcissists kind of on their path, right? These sorts of diagnoses seem to come up in their lives, though he was completely unfazed by this. Now, he knew, of course, that I had been a joint care provider for my nephew throughout his lifetime. To become a legal care provider for a child here in Canada, I had to go through a series of psychiatric assessments, which I had passed with flying colors. In fact, the therapist had said to me, he felt really good for Max knowing that I was going to be one of his care providers. So I kind of talked to Trevor about this before and what those psych assessments, or those testing processes were like. So he knew I had been through those procedures to be able to be a care provider for my nephew. So with that understanding, and I mean, with his own understanding that he had suffered from poor mental health his entire life, he would call me crazy. He would constantly call me crazy. You're crazy. You're bipolar. You must suffer from depression. You need medication. You need medication. Though never once in my lifetime had I been prescribed any antipsychotic medication. You know, the upper shelf in his kitchen was just full of antidepressants and mood stabilizing drugs. I mean, could he not see the pills in his own cupboard? Hell no. No, he couldn't. And though I had personally not been in a lot of relationships, I had been in several very long-term relationships. Well, my first husband passed away, but subsequent relationships, once he passed away, and my husband died 25 years ago. So other relationships that I'd had, long-term relationships, ended very amicably, very friendly, very civilized. In fact, I'm still good friends with my exes to this day on very friendly terms. Now, in Trevor's case, every relationship had ended crash and burn. Everyone, ended up in court with, child custody issues, and the exes trying to cut off any and all contact between him and his children because they truly felt he was a detriment to them. They maybe didn't know he was narcissistic, but they sure knew he was nuts in the head and didn't want that man around their children. And everyone just ended in this fiery crash, and he would say to me, no wonder all your relationships ended badly. And I would say, no, they did not. That's you. That's you with your troubled relationship past. And of course, that would always end with, you see, you're crazy, you're bipolar. I mean, it was absolute madness. And a lot of this kind of banter back and forth, this gaslighting and projecting all this insanity on me was really wearing me down, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of it, spiritually. I mean, I was really becoming unstable as a result of all this insanity and chaos. Now, in retrospect, of course, I see that these allegations against me were nothing more than confessions of his own life. And I think this is kind of that point where we really need to let go and accept the fact. There is no reasoning with them. There is no body of evidence. So the body of evidence is fully attached to their past, to their life, to their history. It is what's painted into that picture. There's just no amount of logic, no combination of words that can be put together to help them see what they really are and what their life's amounted to. Now, Sam Vaknin explains this by saying that the narcissist truly is an empty vessel. The narcissist truly is occupied by some type of entity, and makes a comparison to the movie Night of the Body Snatchers, claiming that they are dead, empty vessels. They are occupied by some sort of evil, so they do not see themselves as the ones committing these crazy acts. There was that catchphrase, I think from the 70s, the devil made me do it. I think this in itself is extremely powerful evidence to substantiate the fact that they cannot be helped. I mean, how we all change and grow and become the best we can be is through self-exploration and acceptance of our shortcomings and a true desire to improve on those things. I absolutely threw away 5 years of my life trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. Now, if you're still trying to fix it, bless your heart. But I think you're beating a dead horse. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I hope you guys are having a great narc-free day.